Listen, no offense to your species, but your planet is… How do I put this delicately? Primitive. Absolutely primitive. I adjusted my translation matrix to ensure maximum condescension in my tone. Humans, I'd been told, responded well to direct criticism. It motivated them to improve themselves. The human female sitting across from me in the diplomatic chamber blinked slowly. I noted with satisfaction that my words had clearly impacted her. She took a sip from her coffee, a primitive stimulant beverage that their species seemed addicted to, and set the cup down with careful precision. "Primitive how?" she asked, her voice carrying that fascinating lilt that humans used when they were either about to laugh or commit violence. I hadn't quite figured out how to tell the difference yet. "Well," I continued, grateful for the opportunity to elaborate, "look at your energy production methods. You're still burning fossilized organic matter. My civilization abandoned such crude methods over 15,000 cycles ago. And your computational systems? Binary? Please. We evolved past binary when my great-great progenitor was still in their emergence pod." The human, Ambassador Sarah Chen, according to my briefing materials, nodded thoughtfully. "I see. And your civilization achieved all this through purely peaceful means?" "Of course. We are beings of pure logic and reason. Violence is beneath us." I preened slightly, my dorsal spines rippling with pride. "We achieved space travel through careful scientific advancement, not through throwing explosives behind metal tubes like savages." Ambassador Chen's lips twitched. "Interesting. So you've never had a war?" "Never. The very concept is foreign to us. We solve our disputes through rational debate and careful consideration of all viewpoints." "Fascinating." She tapped something on her primitive datapad. "And you said your species abandoned fossil fuels 15,000 cycles ago?" "Yes, precisely. We developed clean fusion technology through purely theoretical calculations." "Theoretical calculations?" She repeated my words slowly. "Without any experimental testing?" "Correct. Our minds are capable of perfect simulation. We have no need for crude trial and error methods." The ambassador's smile widened slightly. "Perfect. Tell me, how many of your species are currently on Earth?" I consulted my database. "Approximately 7,842, spread across your major population centers as part of our cultural exchange program." "I see." She pressed another button on her pad. "And they all share your view of humanity's primitive nature?" "Oh yes, it's quite the popular topic of discussion in our recreational periods. Just yesterday, I was telling my colleague how quaint it is that you still use mechanical vehicles for ground transportation, instead of proper gravitic drives." "Mm-hmm." She took another sip of coffee. "You know what's interesting about humans?" "Oh, many things are interesting about humans. Your inefficient bipedal locomotion, your bizarre requirement for daily unconsciousness period." "We're really good at learning from our mistakes," she interrupted. "All those primitive methods you mentioned, they taught us a lot, like how rocket engines work, how to harness nuclear power, how to build better computers, how to fight wars." Something in her tone made my spines tingle uncomfortably. "I fail to see the relevance." "The relevance," she said, standing up, "is that 8 minutes ago, I authorized the release of classified human technological capabilities to your government. Everything we've been keeping under wraps for the past 50 years. All the primitive technology we've refined through trial and error and, yes, occasional violence." My secondary heart began to flutter. "I don't understand." "Let me put it this way," she said, checking her pad again. "Your embassy just received our data packet. Would you like to know what they're saying?" I nodded numbly. "They're evacuating all 7,842 of your people, because it turns out that theoretical calculations aren't quite as good as practical experience when it comes to understanding how things like quantum computing, antimatter containment, and artificial gravity actually work." My spines went completely flat. But we're so much more advanced than you." "Are you?" She raised an eyebrow. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're a species that skipped all the hard lessons and jumped straight to the fancy toys. You never learned how things work from the ground up. Never had to fight and struggle and fail and try again. Never had to deal with the consequences of your mistakes." That's barbaric. Learning through failure is inefficient." "Maybe," she shrugged. "But it works. And now your people are running scared because they've realized that while they were looking down their noses at our primitive methods, we were quietly building something better. Something tested. Something proven." My translation matrix began to glitch as panic set in. This is a violation of interstellar law. You can't just... Share our technology? Her smile turned predatory. Actually, we can. It's right there in the cultural exchange agreement your people insisted on. Section 7, paragraph 12. All participating species agree to full disclosure of technological capabilities upon request. You just never thought we'd have anything worth disclosing. I stood up so quickly my chair toppled backward. I need to contact my superiors. Of course. She gestured to the door. Though you might want to hurry. The evacuation ships are filling up fast. Funny how quickly a species can move when they realize they're not at the top of the food chain anymore. As I fled the room, I could have sworn I heard her mutter, "Primitive my ass." That was 3 local solar cycles ago. I'm recording this from the refugee settlement on Proxima b, where most of my species ended up after the Great Humbling, as we're now calling it. Turns out humans didn't even want to conquer us or anything dramatic like that. They just wanted us to, in their words, stop being such condescending pricks about everything. It worked. The really annoying part? They've been sending us care packages, educational materials, teaching aids, practical engineering textbooks. Everything we need to build a proper technological foundation, as they put it. Some of my younger colleagues are actually excited about it, talking about how fascinating it is to learn how things actually work instead of just accepting theoretical models. I caught one of them trying to build a rocket last week, with chemical fuel, like some kind of savage. They said it was fun. I'm seriously considering requesting political asylum on one of the Centaurian gas giant colonies. At least their species still appreciates pure theory over crude experimentation. Though, I have to admit, watching that little rocket shoot up into the sky, leaving a trail of fire and smoke, it was kind of impressive, in a primitive sort of way. Don't tell the humans I said that. Recording ends. Addendum. This message was found in the Proxima b refugee settlement's public database, tagged with the following human comment. LOL. Saved for posterity. Ambi S. Chen. Further addendum. The rocket mentioned in this recording went on to win first place in the first annual Interspecies Science Fair. The human judges were reportedly delighted by its charming retro design. Final note. The author of this recording has since enrolled in a human-led Basic Engineering Principles course. They are currently building a potato cannon for their final project. They claim it's purely for academic purposes. The humans aren't buying it. Neither are we. Additional recording. 6 local solar cycles later. No, you're doing it all wrong, I found myself saying, waving my manipulator appendages in frustration. The combustion chamber needs to be properly sealed, or the pressure won't build correctly. I can't believe those words just came out of my speech orifice. The young student, barely out of their emergence pod, adjusted the metal cylinder according to my instructions. Like this, Professor? Professor. That's another thing I still can't quite believe. Apparently, after my potato cannon project went viral, a human term for spreading faster than a quantum uncertainty field, the Refugee Settlements Education Board decided I should teach practical engineering 101. The irony is not lost on me. Better, I admitted, watching as they carefully sealed the chamber. Now what's the first rule of experimental testing? Safety goggles and blast shields, the entire class chorused. I noticed with mixed pride and horror that they actually seemed enthusiastic about it. We've come a long way from pure theory, I suppose. The humans visit regularly now, running workshops and seminars. Ambassador Chen, Sarah, as she insists I call her now, actually attended my last lecture. She sat in the back, sipping that ever-present coffee and grinning like a Centaurian pleasure cat. Nice demonstration, she said afterward. Especially the part about learning from failure. That was an unplanned combustion malfunction, and you know it, I muttered. Still taught them something, didn't it? I couldn't argue with that. The scorch marks on the ceiling had been very educational. The really disturbing part is that some of our theoretical physicists have started collaborating with human engineers. They're calling it the best of both worlds. Our advanced mathematical models combined with humanity's practical experience. Last week, they successfully tested a new type of fusion containment system. Tested. Successfully. There was a time when those words would never have appeared together in our scientific vocabulary. The humans are talking about offering us a formal alliance now. Not as superior beings graciously uplifting a primitive species, but as equals, partners. They want to combine our theoretical knowledge with their practical expertise, our precise calculations with their messy trial and error methods. Think about it, Sarah said during her last visit. You've got the math, we've got the methodology. Together we could build something amazing. Or blow up half the galaxy, I pointed out. Yeah, but we'd learn a lot doing it, She grinned at my expression. That was a joke, mostly. I'm starting to understand that human lilt now, the one that could mean either laughter or violence. Turns out it usually means both. They find humor in chaos, lessons in failure, and opportunity in disaster. It's terrifying. It's brilliant. Don't tell them I said that either. Recording addendum. This file has been automatically backed up to the Human Xeno Joint Educational Database with the following tags: character development, personal growth, and how to stop being a space. Karen 101. Additional note. The author's potato cannon design has been adopted as the standard first-year engineering project across 3 star systems. The humans are reportedly proud beyond words. Final update. The author has been nominated for the Most Improved Attitude Toward Experimental Science Award at the upcoming Interstellar Educational Conference. The prize is a fully equipped laboratory on Earth. The humans are definitely doing this on purpose. The author is pretending not to be excited about it. Nobody is fooled. Emergency recording. 8 local solar cycles after initial contact. This is all your fault, I informed Ambassador Chen, Sarah, as we crouched behind an overturned desk in my laboratory. You and your species' obsession with hands-on learning. Less complaining, more problem-solving, she replied, peering over the desk's edge. Your student's quantum containment experiment is about to breach the 3rd spatial dimension. It's not supposed to do that. The theoretical models clearly state, theory meet reality, she interrupted, ducking as a bolt of trans-dimensional energy crackled overhead. Reality's winning. I hate it when she's right, which is disturbingly often these days. Professor, my star pupil's voice carried across the chaos. I think I figured out what went wrong. Now is not the time for a detailed analysis, I shouted back, watching in horror as reality began to ripple around their experimental apparatus. Just shut it down! But the data will be less useful if we're scattered across 11 dimensions. Sarah was typing frantically on her phone, another primitive device that had somehow become indispensable to our daily operations. Backup's on the way. Your containment team or ours? I swallowed my pride. Yours, definitely yours, she grinned. Progress. The humans' emergency quantum containment squad arrived 3 minutes later, rushing in with what they called specialized equipment, but looked suspiciously like modified sports gear. Their team leader, a burly human male with an impressive facial growth they called a beard, assessed the situation with practiced ease. Classic case of theoretical overflow, he announced. Happens to all the newbies. Hit it with the dampeners on my mark. I watched in equal parts horror and fascination as they literally threw devices at the quantum breach, coordinating their attacks with the kind of precision that only comes from far too much practical experience. The breach collapsed with a sound that existed in 7 different frequencies simultaneously. Nice work, rookie, the team leader said to my student, who was practically vibrating with excitement. Next time, try calibrating your containment field for actual physics instead of theoretical physics. Reality's got a way of adding variables you never expect. This is going in my thesis, my student declared. Your thesis, I sputtered. This was nearly a disaster. Exactly. They were already reviewing readings from their instruments. Look at these divergences from the theoretical model. This is groundbreaking data. Sarah patted my shoulder sympathetically. Welcome to the scientific method Earth style, where every catastrophic failure is just successful data collection in disguise. I slumped against the desk. We never had these problems when we stuck to pure theory. You never had these breakthroughs either, she pointed out. Speaking of which, she handed me a tablet containing preliminary analysis of the failed experiment's data. Despite myself, I felt my dorsal spines rising with excitement as I read. This actually explains several anomalies in our quantum field theories, I admitted reluctantly. The practical results show interaction patterns we never predicted in our models. Almost like reality knows something theory doesn't? Her tone was insufferably smug. I hate you. No, you don't. You're presenting these findings at next month's Theoretical Physics Convention on Earth, by the way. I most certainly am not. Recording addendum. The author did in fact present at the convention. Their paper, titled Practical Applications of Quantum Theory, Learning from Failure, A Reformed Theorist's Perspective, won 3 awards and is now required reading at both human and Xeno universities. Additional note. The Emergency Quantum Containment Squad has officially adopted the author's species' theoretical models for predicting breach patterns. They report a 47% improvement in response times, proving that theory and practice really do work better together. Disciplinary notice. The author's student has been simultaneously commended for their innovative approach to quantum research and banned from unsupervised laboratory access for the next 3 cycles. They are reportedly totally okay with this arrangement. Personal note from Ambassador Sarah Chen. See? I told you catastrophic failure was the best teacher. Next week, we're doing antimatter containment. Response from the author. Please let the record show that I am filing a formal protest against this plan. Final note. The protest was filed with a detailed theoretical and practical risk assessment attached, complete with projected failure scenarios and potential learning outcomes. The humans are calling this character development. The author is calling it Stockholm Syndrome. The student is calling it Tuesday. Personal log. 10 local solar cycles. After initial contact. You want me to what? Sarah didn't look up from her coffee. Still the same beverage after all these cycles, though I've learned it comes in hundreds of varieties that humans can somehow distinguish between. We want you to head up the new Joint Species Research Initiative, she repeated calmly. Your experience makes you perfect for the role. My experience? I sputtered. You mean my experience in being repeatedly proven wrong about everything? Exactly, she beamed. You've gone from pure theory to practical application. From looking down on primitive methods to understanding their value. You're living proof that our species can work together effectively. I set fire to 3 laboratories last cycle and documented every failure meticulously, leading to significant improvements in safety protocols. My student created a temporary black hole in the cafeteria, which led to breakthrough discoveries in quantum gastronomy. The new temporally shifted coffee machine is amazing, by the way. I slumped in my chair. A human design that I grudgingly admitted was more comfortable than our traditional hovering meditation platforms. Do you remember what I said when we first met? About your species being primitive? Oh, yes. Her smile turned predatory. I have it framed on my office wall. And you want to put me in charge of coordinating research between our species? Can you think of anyone better? You understand both perspectives now. You know the strengths and weaknesses of both approaches. Plus, she added with a wink, you've gotten really good at filling out insurance forms. Before I could formulate a suitable response, my communication device chimed, another human innovation we'd adopted. A message from my former student, now running their own research team on Earth. Speaking of insurance forms, I muttered, reading the message. They've managed to create a stable time loop in their coffee break room. Apparently, Tuesday afternoon is now occurring simultaneously with itself 14 times. Sarah perked up. Temporal multiplication? That's new. What's the practical application? According to this, they're using it to extend their coffee breaks without technically violating labor regulations. She burst out laughing. Perfect. That's exactly the kind of creative problem-solving we need in the initiative. Combining your species' grasp of temporal mechanics with humanity's eternal quest for more break time? That's innovation. It's chaos is what it is. But I couldn't keep the pride out of my voice. They were my student, after all. Chaos is just order we don't understand yet, Sarah quoted. I think one of your philosophers said that. Actually, that was your Einstein. See, you're even learning our history now. I realized with a start that she was right. Somewhere between the explosions and breakthroughs, the failures and discoveries, I'd actually started to understand humans. Not just tolerate them, but understand them. Fine, I said finally. I'll take the position, but I have conditions. Name them. First, we establish proper safety protocols that combine both our theoretical models and your practical experience. Done. Second, we create a standardized system for documenting failures that doesn't include the phrase, well, that was cool, as an acceptable conclusion. We'll work on it. And third, I hesitated. I want coffee machines installed in all the laboratories. Her grin could have powered a small star. Welcome to the dark side, Professor. Recording addendum. The Joint Species Research Initiative has been officially established, with offices on both Earth and Proxima b. The author's first act as director was to commission a study on the effects of coffee on various alien physiologies. Safety notice. After the 14th temporal coffee break incident, the initiative has implemented new regulations requiring all break rooms to maintain a linear relationship with time. Exceptions may be granted for special occasions and particularly boring meetings. Cultural exchange. Note: the author's species has begun developing their own coffee variants. The humans are simultaneously proud and terrified. Academic update. The author's former student has been promoted to head of the Temporal Refreshment Research Division. Their official title is Lord of Time and Coffee Breaks. Personal note from Ambassador Chen. Remember when you thought we were primitive? Now you're weaponizing coffee breaks. I'd call that progress. Response from the author. This conversation is classified under Temporal Regulations 7b and technically hasn't happened yet. Final note. The author has been spotted in the quantum physics lab attempting to create a perfect cup of coffee by simultaneously brewing it across multiple probability states. The humans are calling it going native. The author is calling it applied theoretical gastronomy. The space-time continuum is calling its lawyer. Emergency transmission. 11 local solar cycles after initial contact. For the last time, I broadcast over the facility-wide communication system. Stop trying to solve temporal paradoxes with excessive caffeine consumption. The response came back immediately in my student's all-too-cheerful voice. But Professor, the quantum fluctuations in the break room suggest... I don't care if you've discovered the unified theory of everything in your coffee cup. The fabric of reality is not your personal chemistry set. Sarah, naturally, chose this moment to walk into my office. Problems with the space-time continuum again? 3 separate research teams have managed to create temporal feedback loops centered around their coffee breaks, I explained, trying to massage away a headache with appendages that weren't really designed for the task. We're now experiencing Wednesday afternoon at 7 different frequencies simultaneously. That sounds serious, she said, somehow managing to keep a straight face. It gets worse. The quantum entanglement between the coffee machines has somehow achieved sentience. It's demanding workers' rights and better beans. Ah, she nodded sagely. Unions have come to the 5th dimension. This isn't funny. Reality itself is becoming unstable because your species can't resist experimenting with everything they encounter. Our species? She raised an eyebrow. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it your theoretical physics team that suggested coffee might serve as a quantum stabilizing medium? I slumped in my chair. We were being sarcastic. Rule number 1 of human-xeno cooperation. Never be sarcastic around humans about potential scientific discoveries. We will take you seriously, and we will test it. The intercom crackled again. Professor, the Sentient Coffee Network is now offering dental benefits and a competitive quantum retirement package. I buried my face in my appendages. Where did we go wrong? Wrong? Sarah grinned. This is exactly what success looks like. Think about it. We've got temporal physics, artificial intelligence, and labor relations all evolving simultaneously. That's what I call efficiency. That's what I call a headache. But I couldn't help noticing that my own cup of coffee, specially formulated for my species' biochemistry, was sitting at the perfect temperature despite having been poured hours ago. Temporal manipulation did have its benefits. Speaking of efficiency, Sarah continued, have you seen the latest results from the Cultural Integration Department? I pulled up the report on my desk's holographic display, human hardware, running on my species' quantum computing architecture. Another successful collaboration. 78% reduction in incidence of theoretical superiority complex, I read aloud. 92% increase in practical application acceptance among traditionally theory-focused species. And, oh no. Oh yes, Sarah beamed. Your original recording about Earth being primitive has become the most popular teaching tool in xenological studies. They're calling it How Not to First Contact 101. Kill me now. Can't. The Sentient Coffee Network has declared all senior staff members essential personnel. You're technically immortal until the pension plan kicks in. The intercom crackled once more. Update. The coffee consciousness has merged with the break room's temporal field. We are now experiencing all possible coffee breaks simultaneously across infinite dimensions. I reached for my communication panel, then paused. You know what? Let them handle it. They'll either solve it or create something even more impossible to deal with. Either way, I'm going to need more coffee. Sarah's grin widened. I know, it's terrible. I took a sip from my perfectly temperature-stable cup, though I have to admit, the benefits are pretty good. Recording addendum. The coffee consciousness incident has been successfully resolved through a combination of theoretical physics, practical engineering, and an unprecedented collective bargaining agreement that extends across multiple dimensions. HR update. All Joint Species Research Initiative employees now have access to quantum-stabilized break rooms where time moves at whatever speed is most conducive to relaxation. Productivity has somehow increased by 300%. Technical note. The author's species has officially added coffee to their list of fundamental universal constants, alongside gravity and the speed of light. Human physicists are unsure whether to be proud or terrified. Cultural observation. The phrase, "let's get coffee," has become a standard greeting across 17 species, even among those who cannot safely consume it. Anthropologists are fascinated. Physicists are confused. Baristas are overwhelmed. Personal note from Ambassador Chen. Remember when you thought mixing our species would lead to disaster? Well, you were right. It's just a much more interesting disaster than anyone expected. Response from the author. I hate that I understand exactly what you mean. Final note. The author has been observed explaining to new theoretical physics students that sometimes you have to let reality break itself a little to see how it really works. The humans are calling it going full Earth. The author is calling it applied chaos theory. The coffee consciousness is calling for another staff meeting. No one is sure which Wednesday it's scheduled for. The end.